There's a civil war going on, and nobody's talking about it, but it's happening every day. And that's the civil war between menopause and midlife crisis. Nobody talks about it. Nobody gives you any heads up, any warning, until you're on the battlefield and bullets are whizzing by your head. Now, for men and women around a certain age stage, let's say between 40 and 55, most women go through menopause, most men go through a midlife crisis. But I happen to be on team midlife crisis, so my opinion is going to be a little bit slanted. But there's a civil war going on, and there's validity on both sides. But there's a difference. Let's talk about it, because nobody tells you about this, nobody talks about it. For teen menopause, yay, teen menopause. Over here, they're going through some real shit. Real shit that men don't have a fucking clue. When have men ever had any clue what women are going through? Let's just put that on a t-shirt. So let's just put that out there for real. Women are going through real physical stuff that men have no idea what's going on. All from being hot all of a sudden, to mood changes, to sexual appetite, a loss of a sexual appetite. It's just all over the place, but it's a physical thing. It's a physical thing. Their hormones are changing, chemicals, imbalance, like everything is. I've said this in many of my other videos, so go check out some of my other shit, because I talk about stuff from a young Gen X, middle-aged perspective. But being in your 40s and your 50s, especially your young 50s, is kind of like being a teenager of older people. So all type of shit is going on in our bodies that is new to us, and we got to adjust to it. So for women going through menopause, it's almost like they're in their teen years again. Like their bodies, their hormones, chemicals, and everything is changing. You got to learn how to deal with that. But it's physical. For men, it's mental. It's emotional. It's psychological. Because for men, for most men in a midlife crisis, they're trying to figure out who the fuck they are. They're trying to figure out if they're winning or losing in life. They're trying to figure out if all the things that came up to this point, all the life that they lived, was it worth it? Or the life that's left to be lived, what can they make of it? And so it's just this real fog, this real mind fuck of where am I? What am I doing? And how does this play out? So for women, for teen menopause, it's a physical thing that men have no idea what's going on. For teen midlife crisis, that's all emotional. That's all in their head, in their heart, in their memories, in their values. How do you deal with that? It's not something physical that you can touch. You can't just turn on the air conditioning and change a man's midlife crisis. You can't do that. Now, a lot of men, what they do, and it's not really the most healthy, but they chase. They chase their past. They chase their youth. They chase old relationships. They chase sex. They chase money. They're chasing something, and what that means is that they're not really fulfilled. Just being raw about it. They're not really whole with who they are and what they have. And so now, going into what they feel like is the fourth quarter, they got to come up with a game plan on how to get that fulfillment. And so they chase. Women, it's physical. So like I say, give me a electric blanket, be mindful of my mood changes, and don't ask me about sex. For men, how do you help them with that mind fuck that's going on? And here's the second part. For women, menopause has a duration. It could start early, maybe in her late 30s. Whenever it starts, it has a duration. Go talk to the doctor about it. Like, it's going to be all type of shit going on, but generally it lasts about such and such amount of time. A man's midlife crisis doesn't really have an ending. It just kind of like eventually fades away. It's like a fog, just eventually you can see clearer now. But it doesn't really have a date that you can say, all right, we'll just deal with this for the next 3 years and then you'll be fine. It's like, I can't really tell you when you're going to get straight, when you're going to get your shit together, when you're going to feel whole about yourself. Because here's another thing. For women, for teen menopause, they got that duration. They know I'm going to be dealing with this for a couple of years. But then it's gone. It's over with. I don't have to deal with that anymore. And then they can go on about their life. For men, teen midlife crisis over here, yeah. It may not be that simple. Because if they don't really deal with and get a hold of and find some type of peace with where they're at in life, what they've done, and what they're trying to do, they could come out of the other end of that midlife crisis fucked up. Fucked up. And you're looking at that dude like, wow, before 45, before 50, he was a cool ass dude. And then after that, he turned into a straight asshole. Or before, he was selfless. And now he's selfish. If you don't find some peace within yourself during that fog of a time, for men, he could come out of the other side fucked up. With menopause, like I said, I'm on the other side of the fence, so ladies, correct me if I'm wrong. Most of my audience is men of a certain age, but women, any ladies that might come across this, please give me your opinion. But you've got that duration, and then you know, after that, my chemicals, my hormones, the tide, the waves, everything kind of calms down. And like I say, for men, if he does the wrong things, if he makes bad choices, if he does not find that peace within himself, his shit's going to be rocky the rest of his life. He's not going to be happy the rest of his life, however long that is, and it could be cut shorter because he's making poor choices now. Another thing that comes into the civil war between teen menopause and teen midlife crisis is I wasn't necessarily going to bring this up, but women now much more have the balls and the freedom and the capability to cut your ass loose. Clip, clip, snip, snip. In the relationship, in the marriage, go their separate ways, start her new life finally. Boomer women and women of older generations, they didn't necessarily have that freedom. Gen X, what up Gen X? Gen X women are really the first generation that had the real opportunity to carve out a destiny, to carve out an identity, to carve out a life for herself that was not dependent upon some fucking man. Let's smoke to that. Gen X women are the first fucking women to finally be able to pick the lock on that shackle and carve out her own destiny. She does not need a man to buy a house. She does not need a man to get a credit card. She does not need a man to rent a car. She does not need a man to start a business. She doesn't need a man to further her education. And the generations coming up under that, the millennials, the Gen Zers, the alphas, and whatever fucking names come afterwards, God bless them that they have the growing ability to create their own world. And so during this civil war between teen menopause and teen midlife crisis, a lot of these women, 40, 45, 50, when those kids, assuming they got them, when those kids hit college, get near college, graduate college, that dude is on a time clock, 24-second time clock. He, not necessarily the dude himself, but just everything is now suspect. The kids are older, the roles are different, they're changing, and during that civil war, if that woman going through what she's going through loses connection with that man with what he's going through, and they don't continue to have that spark. I always say relationships, long-term relationships, you go through ups and downs, you go through highs and lows. You hurt each other more than anybody else has ever hurt you, and yet you love that person, you care for that person, hoping and assuming it's a healthy relationship. But through the highs and the lows, through the night and the day, the clear and the dark, if you lose that spark, whatever it is that initially brought you two together, keeps you two together, it could be fucking physical. It could still be physical. It could be her laugh. It could be the way that he, cooks. It could be the way that she, wins an argument. Whatever, like, you know what I'm saying? Just these little things. But whatever that spark is, if you lose that spark, you don't have that magnet, that gravity that fucking brought you together. There's going to be so many things to pull you apart. But what keeps you together? And as that changes, the kids, our age and stage in life, the Civil War, any other past aggressions, it's during this time period in the Civil War where motherfuckers be like, yeah, I think maybe we should just do a leaper and say we're good. We're good. Why don't we just go our separate ways? We good. And so that's something during that Civil War, and it's been blindsiding a lot of men. And these are not baby boomer men. They're Gen Xers. They're Gen Xers. So maybe they still got that in them, but it's blindsided them. Like, what do you mean you're leaving me? And she's like, yes, I'm done with your shit. I'm done with dealing with this. We did what we did. We don't have to continue to do it. How long does this sitcom have to go? Like, we good. And the dude is devastated. You know what I'm saying? Almost like he's a 1950s housewife. He's devastated. Like, now what am I going to do? And if he's still going through his midlife crisis, it's going to be doubly troubling and bombarding on him, because while he's trying to evaluate what's real and whether or not he's winning, one of the consistent things that he had going on in his life was this person. And now she's like, yeah, I'm good. And it wasn't because of, and this is the part that hurts the most. I know what some women say now when men say this to them. The part that hurts the most is when she says to him, baby, it's not you. Where does that leave the other person? Where does that leave the other person? They, like, if it was me, you're breaking up because of things that I do, baby, I can change what I can do. I can be a new person. But when you're breaking up with me because of you, I can't change you. I don't even know what this is that you're going through. What are you talking about? So during the Civil War, during this time in our lives, about 40 to 55, I'm a young Gen Xer, so I'm still in there. But during that time period in our lives, during that Civil War period, people are like, teen menopause, oh, they're going through something, teen menopause, like, let's look out for them, let's get them some medication, turn up the AC, like, be understanding. And you should. Teen midlife crisis over here, it's like, motherfucker, please, what you, some midlife, what is you doing? It's just all type of criticism. It's all, and there's no turn up the AC. There is no duration. There is very little sympathy. But if that dude does not get his shit together, if he does not come out of that midlife crisis huddle, that time, it's like a halftime on a certain level. If he doesn't come out of that halftime with his head straight, knowing what's real, what he values, how he wants the second half to go, it's going to be a fuck fest. And it could actually be a fuck fest, like a smash fest. But I mean, it's going to be a fuck fest as far as, like, that dude's going to be all over the place. And I know a few dudes that, start in their 40s. Maybe their woman left them in their 40s. Maybe their woman left them before that. Maybe they never had a steady woman. But I know a few dudes that once they hit their 40s, shit just got really unstable. They just kind of out here floating. And women more so, I think, in that time period of menopause, which is turbulent, they're more so getting their shit together. They're more so like trying to maintain. And men are more so like, I may have to blow this whole thing up because I think I'm losing. I think everything that I've done in life up to this point ain't really got me nowhere. Now, personally, to conclude the video, like I said, I think I'm still in my midlife crisis. And part of that was kicked off by my mom passing away during that time period. And like for about 6 months after she passed, I was gone. Like, she passed away on a Saturday night. between 9 and 11 o'clock is when the process was going down. So for about 6 months after she passed, every Saturday night, I couldn't help it. I had to check out. I had to go somewhere else. And where I went, she would not have been proud of. I'm not necessarily proud of. And I'm not talking about a location. I mean, like, some of the things that I did and just where my head was at, and, like, on a certain level, not giving a fuck and being risky and taking chances. I'm saying all of this because that was during my midlife crisis. My midlife crisis started before that, and then while I'm trying to figure shit out, my mom passes. And so that's why I said before, like, there isn't really a duration. It just, the fog just kind of goes away, and then you're like, oh shit, remember when I was in the fog? Because I remember during that 6 month period, I didn't know how long this was going to go. I was worried this was going to be my new life now. I just knew every Saturday, if it started approaching 9 o'clock, I had to disappear until sometime later. And then, roughly around 6 months later, I noticed I wasn't checking out on Saturday nights no more. I wasn't feeling claustrophobic like I had to forget. Because of course you'll never forget. It's inside you. She's inside you, you know. But my point being is that's how a middle life crisis is for a dude. He's in it. He's trying to deal with it and figure shit out and make the best choices. And then hopefully at some point he's like, oh, remember when I was trying to make the best choices? Like, I couldn't figure out which way was up. For women, menopause isn't like that. It is almost like a term that they have to serve and deal with. And like I say again, I have no idea what the fuck they go through. But it's like a term, it's a duration. It starts, it evolves and changes, and then it ends. For men, teen midlife crisis, our shit hits us at some point, and then we're like, what the fuck is going on? Everything is, my math is not working the same. And they spend years trying to figure this shit out. In the meantime, you got people telling them that they're just being selfish, that they're chasing their past glory, that they're, you know, delusional. And it's really, really no different than what women are going through. We're at a certain teenage stage of getting older, and we're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. So, and I'll drop this one last thing. Please give me a comment on this. What are men supposed to do when women are going through menopause? Because some men are very understanding. Some men are the exact opposite and pieces of shit and don't give a fuck. Just let me know when you're ready to fucking suck. And, you know, some men are a hybrid. Like, you know, they try to be understanding until this pretty woman notices them. And then he's in this fucked middle ground where, assuming he's in a relationship, she's going through menopause and the dude's trying to be understanding about that. Trying to be. As understanding as men can be, but trying to be. But he's going through midlife crisis, and he's trying to deal with whether or not he's winning, whether or not he's worthy, whether or not he needs to change things about his life. You know, what's good about him. And while perhaps maybe he's having difficulty connecting and having a relationship, having sex with his wife, his girlfriend, fuck friend, whoever it is, while they're struggling with their connection, something else presents itself. And so this dude's got a double whammy to think about, in the fact of, triple whammy. Thinks about his woman, trying to be understanding, trying to be faithful and loyal, presumably. Dealing with his own issues of whether or not he's worthy and adequate, and whether or not anybody wants him, you know, whether or not he's past his prime, past his due date. And then someone shows interest, real interest, that's like, hey, where you been? The fuck is that man supposed to do? And women don't understand this because they've never been through a midlife crisis that a man goes through. It's already difficult for men not to cheat. Not that it's not difficult for women. But it's already difficult for men not to cheat. And now you enter this foggy gray period of your life where man is wondering whether he still got it, and then someone comes along and is like, you still got it. I gotta smoke one now. What is that man supposed to do? If he stays loyal, no, thank you, boo. Thank you, I appreciate it. You know, I try to do what I do. You know, I run and I hoop and, you know, I do my push-ups. Thank you. And then he goes home, can't get done. Or he's got to wait until the proper schedule or the proper timing. Still got him wondering whether or not he's winning, whether or not he's making the right choice, whether or not he's wanted or not. And then that woman is looking at that dude like, if you want that bitch, you want to go chase all these tails that's wagging and this, and then you go on all of the years I done put in. They start playing Mary J. Blige, Girl, I'm Never Gonna Cry, and all this other shit. And it's a minefield of emotions and chemicals. But underneath it all, really, they're going through the same thing. It's a transformation. It's I like to say recalibration. It's a recalibration of who they are, what's inside of them. But for men, how do men deal with women going through menopause when the man is going through a midlife crisis? How does she deal with a man going through a midlife crisis when she's going through menopause? I don't know her answer because I'm not a woman. But I got some thoughts for the dudes on how they deal with it. May not be good answers, but I got some answers. Anyway, I'll say that for another video. Maybe you can tell me in the comments what you think. But this your boy, that middle-aged guy, diversified, Gen X, what up? Just dropping some more shit. Please tell me, anybody ever tell you about the Civil War between teen menopause and teen midlife crisis? No, nobody said shit to you about it. I did though.